Welcome to this explainer. Let's just pause for a second and picture something. Think back to the sheer physical weight of a classic classroom. You know, the rhythmic scratch of chalk on a sleepboard, the heavy textbooks crammed into a backpack. For decades, the entire infrastructure of learning was just completely physical and static. But today, we're looking at something totally different. We're going to explore the incredible evolutionary leap that teaching support systems have taken to get us to where we are right now.
It sounds like a massive leap, right? From literal chalk to artificial intelligence. But how did our educational delivery methods transform so rapidly? And more importantly, what does this massive shift actually mean for how we absorb and interact with information today? Well, in this explainer, we're taking an investigative look at exactly that.
Okay, let's dive into this. Part 1. The evolution of classrooms.
To really wrap our heads around where we are today, we have to map out this timeline. We kick things off in the mid-20th century with the traditional phase. Then we move into the late 20th century for the modern phase, and finally arrive at the 21st century's ICT-based era. The truly fascinating insight here is just the pure acceleration of this timeline. Think about it. It took centuries to move past chalk and slate, but only a matter of decades to iterate past things like the overhead projector right into fully integrated cutting-edge digital spaces.
That takes us to Part 2, Traditional Teaching Tools.
Let's examine the absolute foundational support systems of higher education. We're talking chalkboards, textbooks, and printed materials. These physical tools were the absolute standard for generations of learners. The pedagogical reality of this era was entirely defined by synchronous, location-bound learning. Information was incredibly scarce by today's standards, and the educator standing at the front of the room was the ultimate bottleneck of that information. Literally, if it wasn't written down during that specific hour or bound in the textbook you lugged to the library, it practically didn't exist for your coursework.
Now, while these physical materials definitely did a massive amount of heavy lifting for decades of academics, they eventually revealed some pretty severe limitations. They introduced a ton of friction. A chalkboard is entirely static, right? Once it's erased, that data's gone forever. And printed textbooks are quite literally locked in time. The exact moment a textbook goes to print, the information starts aging. That meant curricula were often years out of date before students even opened the cover. So there were profound pedagogical limitations when it came to flexibility, pacing, and really any sort of multimodal interactivity.
Which brings us nicely to Part 3, the modern tech shift.
Educators and institutions quickly realized they absolutely had to overcome the constraints of purely physical media. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is seeing exactly how the introduction of tools like the overhead projector, or OHP, offered immense pedagogical benefits. Suddenly, professors could pre-build these complex visual schemas, which drastically reduced the cognitive load during live lectures. Plus, they could finally face their students while teaching, which fundamentally changed classroom dynamics. Eventually, smartboards digitized that entire experience, and early simulations allowed students to visualize complex concepts dynamically. We were finally moving away from a strictly teacher-centric model.
And that catapults us right into Part 4, the ICT and AI era.
But technology didn't just stop there. It accelerated even further into the cutting-edge frontier of information and communication technology, or ICT. We aren't just talking about individual gadgets in a classroom anymore. We're talking about a totally interconnected digital ecosystem, and this brilliantly illustrates how the components fit together. Learning management systems like Moodle serve as central hubs. Video lectures make time and geography completely irrelevant, while virtual labs offer high-fidelity simulation. This whole thing even extends to personalization through AI tutors. Just imagine an AI quietly analyzing a student's keystrokes in a virtual coding lab, and then instantly suggesting personalized resources the exact moment they start to struggle. It's wild.
Let's move on and see how this builds, because what makes this era truly revolutionary is the interoperability of these systems. These aren't just random tools. A student organizes their academic life within an LMS platform. Then they digest information via asynchronous video lectures. After that, they apply that knowledge in a virtual lab where they can safely experiment and, make mistakes. And crucially, the data from that virtual lab feeds right back into the LMS to trigger an AI tutor for instant customized support. This is a meticulously crafted, step-by-step, cohesive ecosystem designed specifically for the modern higher education student.
Bringing it all together, we have Part 5, Integration in Higher Education.
So, the crucial point is understanding this entire evolution and integration. The modern campus is no longer just a physical location, it's a hybrid data environment. Grasping how we went from rigid chalkboards to flexible, personalized AI ecosystems is absolutely vital for anyone involved in higher ed today. Proper integration is exactly what prevents digital fatigue and actually drives student retention. Whether you're a student trying to maximize your study time, an educator designing a brand new curriculum, or an administrator building out a campus, mastering the seamless support system is the absolute key to thriving in an incredibly dynamic academic world.
Well, we've covered a massive amount of ground today, tracing a truly incredible leap in how we actually support learning. But as we close out this explainer, I want to leave you with a bit of a provocative question to ponder. What is the next evolutionary step in learning after AI? I mean, if we can go from erasing chalk dust to literally interacting with artificial intelligence in just a few short generations, what could possibly be next? Keep learning, keep exploring, and thank you so much for joining me on this explainer.